Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about the effect of green tips on steel plate at 200 yards out of a 10.5-inch AR pistol. Okay, so still covered by the injunction. Okay, so pistol braces are still good to go. So I've got this piece of mild steel here that's about a half-inch thick. Okay, so I actually have a couple of pieces. I'm using this as a sample, and the goal here is like I want to be able to shoot these pieces of mild steel that I have at some distance with my 223, 5.56 ARs without damaging the steel. Okay, so the goal is not to damage the steel. I don't want to damage the steel. The reason is because if you start cratering it, when the bullets hit it, if they go into a crater, they can deflect in some unpredictable direction. So I want to keep the face relatively flat. So again, this is just a test dummy that we're using here. I got other pieces. So what I did is yesterday I shot this with both Tula and Wolf out of an 18-inch AR. Okay, so when I shot it at 200 yards, these are the impacts here, right? So it cratered it, crater. Okay, where's it? That's a crater right there. Crater. So these are the craters. They're the ones with the black paint on them because I basically spray painted them over. So I saw that, yeah, at 200 yards out of a 18-inch, and a 16-inch wouldn't be that much different. At 200 yards, it's going to deform the face of the steel too much, where I won't be able to use it for very long. Right? It's gonna damage it pretty quickly. Okay, so then I'm like, okay, I know I can shoot it with 9mm ARs, but then again, I got lots of other plates. See, I don't want to shoot those plates with my 5.56 Rs because I want to keep them nice, right? Because those are expensive. This stuff here, this is a little bit more disposable. So I said this is the stuff I want to shoot with the 5.56 223. Okay, so with this 18-inch, it's doing too much damage, right? I wouldn't get too much life out of this. So I said, okay, what if I go to a shorter AR, right? So let's go to the 10.5-inch AR pistol, right? Still covered under the pistol brace injunction. What if we use a 10.5-inch at 200 yards with either Tula or Wolf? What's that going to do? So I shot this steel, and you can see the impact right here where I'm pointing. It barely, I mean, it did leave an imprint, but that's all it did. It just left an imprint right here where I'm pointing. Right, here's another one. Oops, point the camera. Very light imprints. Okay, more like it kind of like dented it a little bit. Okay, so it just dented it, right? Just dented it there. Okay, so that answered my question, right? As far as shooting this at 200 yards with like 223, yeah, if I put it in this 10.5-inch, I can basically shoot probably a couple of thousand rounds into this half-inch mild steel, and it is not going to damage it. It's not going to heavily crater it. Okay, so then I started thinking, okay, so now that I know what I can shoot out, what I can shoot this steel with at what distance and with what gun, right, where it won't get damaged, right? So, Tula or Wolf at a 10.5-inch, 200 yards, very minimal damage. I said, okay, what if I did want to damage it? Is there any ammunition that I could put in this 10.5-inch AR pistol that would damage it? So what I did is I pulled out the green tips, right? This Federal 6.2 grain XM855. Okay, so I took out the green tips. I said, okay, let's shoot this steel now at 200 yards out of the 10.5-inch AR, and let's see what that's gonna do. Okay, so these are the impacts right here, and holy shit, look at that! Look at that, man! Look at that! Those are the green tips, right? This one over here went in at like a weird angle, but it's still carved it out. So let me show you guys the actual depth out of the 10.5. Here, let me put it here so you guys can read it. So that looks like it's a 0.2 3.5. Okay, all right. So here you can actually see the actual depth, how it's protruding. That's the depth that the green tip made on the steel out of the 10.5-inch AR pistol, right? Compared to when I shot it with other stuff, where it just dented the surface a little bit. See, it just dented the surface. Just dented the surface, right? So the interesting thing here is that the 10.5-inch with the green tips, right? If we look at the penetration here, okay, is actually, if we go back to the other craters, it's more than half. It's more than half of, well, that one's like, it barely got in there. It's like, that's like not even a quarter of the depth. Okay, but if we go to the deepest ones here, right? Here, let me actually measure it. We'll measure this one. You guys can, we can look at it on the caliber. Get the, so that's like a point 141. Okay, so that's an actual measurement there, right? So the green tips out of the 10.5-inch barrel penetrated more than the Wolf or the Wolf WM193 out of an 18-inch barrel. Okay, they penetrated more. So that's an interesting piece of information to know with regards to your 10.5-inch AR pistol. Okay, with some ammunition, with most ammunition, right, with most ammunition, most target ammunition, it's gonna, you can shoot steel at 200 yards and it's barely gonna leave a mark on it. It's gonna leave a mark on it, right? It's just gonna lightly, I mean, I can feel it in my finger. I mean, that's more than just paint coming off. Like, it actually left an imprint on it. But the point is, I can actually get some good mileage out of this shooting it with target ammo at 200 yards with that 10.5. But if I wanted to have some real impact, I can just switch in the green tips, and all of a sudden I go from like just denting the surface a little bit to getting some real penetration. Okay, so right there you can see that part again that's sticking out. That's how, you know, from this part out, that's how much the green tips penetrated. Again, same 200 yards. You know, that's the depth, 0.235. Okay, so yeah, that's a lot of variation. You know, to be able to have an AR, right, that if you put one type of ammunition in, you know, you can have fun plinking steel at 200 yards and barely damage the steel, but then you put in a different type of ammunition, and all of a sudden you're delivering some serious damage over the. Hold on, let me put this camera on a tripod. So I've recently done a bunch of videos on the 10.5-inch AR pistol. In the past, I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I kind of lumped it together with the 7.5 that I have. The 7.5 being really loud, okay, having a tremendous muzzle flash, especially if on a cloudy day or if the sun starts setting. So I kind of like lumped the two together, okay. And lately I've been doing a lot more shooting with the 10.5, and the more I've noticed that it's not that much louder, right? Especially if you have a linear comp at the end. Okay, that linear comp over here, that sends more of the noise downrange. Okay, so this one's from Core Valley. They're pretty cheap. They're like, I think like $35 or $40. So if you have a linear comp, and I also have it on my 7.5, but on my 7.5 it doesn't seem to be as effective as it is on the 10.5. So I've been doing a bunch of shooting over the last like 2 weeks. I've noticed that, you know what, it's really not that much louder than a 16-inch. It's a little bit louder, but it's not that much louder. It's not as loud as a 7.5. It doesn't give off that much of a muzzle flash. Now, if I'm shooting fast, like boom, 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 I'll start seeing the flash. The flash is there. The outside observer can see it. When I watch in the videos, I can see a little bit of a flash. If the sun's setting, you're definitely going to see flash. But it's not anywhere as bad as the 7.5. Okay, so yeah, those are two things I was that two reasons why I don't love the 7.5, even though it's nice to hold and move around with. You know, when you go to the 10.5, it's pretty comfortable, right? To move around with. It's a lot, you know, it's pretty lightweight. The loudness is not that bad, right? If you got good earmuffs, the muzzle flash is not that bad. Very rarely, if I'm shooting, I'm looking through the scope and I can see a little bit of a flash. I mean, with a 16-inch, I don't see any flash at all when I'm shooting. Even at night, if I'm shooting at night with the 16-inch, I really don't see the flash. With the 10.5 at night, if I'm doing night shooting, I will see the flash. Okay, so that's one of the things with the 10.5. But the versatility, as far as shooting on steel that we see here, that with, you know, with target ammo, you know, at 200 yards, it does no damage, like, or very little damage to the steel, to the mild steel, right? So this is not rifle rated steel. This is mild steel from the junkyard. Okay, so you know, with the target ammo, it does very minimal damage to it. But if you put in the green tips, okay, you know, all of a sudden you've got something that has that's actually going to deliver good hits, good penetration on steel. I'm not going to get too deep into the construction of the green tips. I mean, basically they've got a harder, there's a steel core, or there's a the inside of the bullet's a little bit harder. Okay, there's other videos out there that go into the specifics of this. I look at the results. The results are that the green tips do damage to the steel. So 10.5-inch at 200 yards, absolutely no question. Light armor, it will do the job. If you're shooting it with the regular at 200 yards, yeah, I mean, on soft fleshy things, it'll work great. I mean, even at 500 yards, my opinion is that on soft fleshy things, you know, 223 will work fine, okay, on soft fleshy things. Now, it doesn't cause that hydrostatic damage, right, to the surrounding tissues, but my thinking is that, you know, inside of 200 yards, if, let's say, you're in an SHTF type of situation, you know, World War III apocalypse, if somebody is wounded inside of 200 yards, you know, there's a good chance that they are going to rationalize that their best chance of survival is to continue to press the attack forward that 200 yards, right, and defeat you, right? There's a good chance, you know, rather than turn around and, you know, try to get away and get shot in the back. Okay, if somebody is wounded 300 yards and out, okay, my thinking is that they're not going to try to cover 300, 400, 500 yards to continue to charge forward. They're going to think that their best chance of survival 300 yards and out is to turn around and try to get away, and that, you know, because they're just so far out, it's going to be a lot harder for you to shoot them as they retreat. Okay, so inside 200 yards, there's a chance that they may not be able to get out. Best chance is to continue to attack forward. Outside, you know, 300 yards plus, there's, you know, I think they would rationalize that their best chance of survival is to just turn around and get out of there if they're still able to walk. Okay, so those are my thoughts on that. I thought this was very interesting with the 10.5-inch barrel, and how I got very different results with target ammo versus green tip at 200 yards. Okay, so drop some comments. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll talk soon. Give the video a like, and you know, it helps with pushing the algorithm and getting this information around. I don't monetize this channel or anything. I just do this just to get the information out there.